A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, hello.
Serious rock talk back on the dial, traveling at a speed of 33 and a third RPMs, where the vinyl will bring you to your preferred destination. On with the show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Ferris Kennedy, and today I have a special guest, a man who you could say is a combination of Cat Stevens and George Michael. You probably knew him as the former singer of Eudoxis, but right now he is the lead singer of Ranamers. Ladies and gentlemen, on the line I have T-Bone Terry. T-Bone Terry, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. How are you today, T-Bone?
I'm doing really good. I had a day off today, so I've been relaxing and taking it easy.
Well, T-Bone, I wish I could do the same thing, but you know, sometimes we got to keep on trucking. That's what they keep telling me. Keep on trucking.
And keep on rocking, too.
Keep on rocking in the free world. So,
absolutely.
This is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, from Ranamers, we have T-Bone Terry and a little bit of history. You are a fiery Latin rock and blues band, and you're based out of Montreal, Quebec.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brand new band called Ranamers.
And the name, how did the name come about?
Well, the drummer, this is the drummer's baby. So the drummer is Cesar Ramirez. And if you name the band Ramirez, it would get lost in all the thousands and millions of Ramirez in the internet. So he was wise enough to go into the root of his name, which comes from Europe. It's a European root, actually German, and it's Ranamers. So Ramirez actually comes from the name Ranamers, which I guess is not very much used these days, because when you type in Google and you write Ranamers, our band pops up. So that's a very smart idea, because you know, you can't buy that kind of exposure. You go in Google, you write Ranamers, and you don't see... for example, I was in a band called Screen in the past, which is a great band for a name, like Screen, TV Screen, whatever. But, you know, when you type in Screen, you see bug screens and TV screens, and by the time you get to Screen, the band, you've probably bought some bug screens and TV screens, and you've forgotten what you were looking for.
And from what I understand, you are a composite of 4 gentlemen in the band. We have 3 Venezuelans and 1 Greek.
That's right. T-Bone Terry is actually a Greek. That's me, named Sotiri Papaphilis. And you wonder how on earth did a Greek end up in a band with 3 Venezuelans? And that's a funny story, because, you know, life is just a series of events, and one thing leads to another. And I think it was 2013. I was touring with my band at the time. I was in Venezuela, opening band at this festival, which is actually the biggest festival in Venezuela. The opening band in it was Oswaldo, and Oswaldo plays guitars in the Ranamers now. So, small world. I ended up running into him in Montreal, and now he has a studio. And to make a long story short, he called me up and said, I got a client, and he wants some harmonica. So I was a hired gun to go play harmonica on 2 tracks, which on the album is The Guy Who Lost His Soul and Take Me to the City. So I was initially just a hired gun to come and play harmonica on those 2 bluesy tracks. And then they realized, oh, he sings as well? So I ended up singing on 3 more tracks, including those 2, Tell Me Jimmy, The Day Will Come, and I Can't Breathe, which is the video that came out, say, a couple weeks ago. So yeah. I ended up being on most of the album, and now part of the touring band.
Well, it was interesting, because I listened to the song Tell Me Jimmy, because you sent me the clip, and then they also sent me the one of Can't Breathe. Different style, because I found Can't Breathe, it was a little bit heavier than the Tell Me Jimmy one.
Yeah, I Can't Breathe is actually the heaviest song on the album, and it's actually a very angry song, a lot of emotion, because the writer of the songs is Caesar, which is, like I told you, came up with the band name, and wrote all the songs, actually. And I Can't Breathe is in memory of his friend Caco, Carlos Alberto de la Cantere, who died by police bullet in 1991 in a very useless kind of way. So, he carries this in his heart, and while we were filming the video, he actually teared up, so I could see there's a lot of emotion in this song, a lot of emotion, a lot of anger. So it borders on heavy metal, this song. However, there's a lot of sounds on the album. There's, rock, there's blues, there's Latin-influenced beats, and you hear one song, you hear another, you go, wow, it's the same band? So that's what's so cool about this band. You don't listen to an album and say, all the songs sound the same. Complete opposite. All those songs sound completely different.
And it's good to have that. From what I understood when I listened to the song and I saw the video, it's pretty. It's almost like a political message. Am I seeing that correctly?
Absolutely. Based around the memory of his friend Carlos Alberto. However, it generalizes into other worldly events that people have heard of.
Well, this is amazing. I'm glad you took the time to call in and we could do the show. Did you want to jump right into these questions and let's get to know T-Bone Terry? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, T-Bone Terry, as I go by, whenever I do anything in the rock or blues area, I go by T-Bone Terry. Anytime I do anything in the metal area, I go by my birth name, Sotiri Papafilis. I don't know how that worked out, but it just separates my two careers.
Well, I like the name Sotiri Papafilis because it shows that you are of Greek extraction. So,
Absolutely, very Greek.
Very Greek. Well, T-Bone, here we go. I'm going to just ask you the questions, and you're going to let the audience know. So my first question I want to present to you is, what are your musical influences and how have they shaped your songwriting and performance style?
There's so much good music, so little time, and we'll be talking about that a little later. But, early on, my folks, being from Greece, were listening to Greek music. However, being here, first-generation Greeks, off the ships, our generation, I'm 55 years old now, so my parents are like 85-ish. So back then, what was out there? There was Elvis, there was Chubby Checker, Let's Twist Again. There was, there's like this early stuff and some jazz that we're also listening to. So I had all these 45s, and I was pretending that I was a DJ. So this is kind of like a dream come true to be on a podcast, with you, Kennedy. It's that's my early stuff that I would do. I would take all my mom's 45s and pretend I was a DJ, put some Elvis and some country records or whatever she had. So I went from country and early rock and roll to the classic rock of like Clapton or the Stones or whatever Shom FM was playing. That's the radio channel in Montreal that I grew up in.
97.7, my friend. Shom FM. That was...
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the same Shom FM that called me up on their 40th anniversary and asked me to headline their show. So I actually did that at their 40th anniversary. So it's a great radio station that supports local acts.
Well, that's fantastic. Did you get to meet Claude Rajotte back in the day?
Absolutely. Great guy. All the whole gang was there. It was the 40th anniversary, and all the DJs from the past and the newcomers were all there, and we had a great time. And again, I'm thankful for that moment in memory and time.
Well,
and just to say, I grew up with that. What came in from Shom? It was Queen, Pink Floyd, Van Halen, AC/DC. I could go on and on. So much good music, so little time. And from there I said, okay, I'm listening to Queen and stuff and rock music. What's before that? Before that is the blues, so I got really into the blues. What's after that? Heavy metal, so I got into heavy metal. So anything around classic rock and all the roots around it is what my upbringing is.
And this is what helps you with your songwriting and your stage presence?
Absolutely. Stage presence, nobody does it better than Ozzy. So I even was an Ozzy tribute band, the Black Sabbath, about 15 years ago. And it was the full production with costumes and instruments, and we looked like the real deal and sounded like the real deal too.
No, Ozzy was a legend. I'm so happy that he finally got inducted on October 19th, 2024 in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It only took them, 40 years to bring this man in. So this is good. I'm very happy to hear this inspiration of you. So it leads on to my next question. Your musical background, which you kind of explained. What instrument do you play? Now, you said you play the harmonica. Do you play anything else?
I'll tell you something funny. Since I know you have an Italian descent there, Kennedy.
I do.
My parents bought me an accordion when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
And I was about, maybe 3.5 feet tall, and the accordion was about 5 feet tall. So it was crushing me, and I couldn't see over it to play it. So I gave it to my big brother, who was 10, my brother George, who ended up playing in Offenbach, by the way. That's my brother George.
In Offenbach? With Jerry Boulez?
That's absolutely. After Jerry Boulez died, his son was singing, and my brother was in the band for several years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we're a musical family. So I forgot your question.
Well, besides the harmonica, now I guess we got the accordion.
That's it. I got rid of the accordion real fast because it was like 30 pounds heavier than what I could carry. And I gave it to my big brother, who ended up with an accordion, then he played guitar, and then so on. And I also played guitar.
Okay.
And I found it easy because my brother was so good on guitar that I would say, okay, I play guitar, but I really don't compared to my brother. So I had to find something else. So I ended up being a singer, I ended up being a harmonica player, blues harmonica player, just to back him up, and to keep up with him. So, I play guitar. I play a bit of drums, slide guitar, harmonica, which comes the most naturally to me because I learned it playing while I'm driving the car. So I would slap in a blues record and drive with my left hand. My right hand would be in my mouth with my harmonica. It's like, somebody with a vape in their car. Only I would play harmonica. So, I learned how to play harmonica in my car with blues records.
Look at that, eh? You're multitasking. That's considered distractive driving in today's world. But back in the day, they wouldn't have said a thing if you had a harmonica.
Back in the day, people would, drink in their cars and keep their beer between their legs,
Oh,
nobody winked an eye for that.
The good old days. God, how I miss the good old days. Well, with this one here, T-Bone Terry, I want to ask you, what are your favorite rock sub-genres? Now, do you like prog? Do you like obviously the classic rock is the main element, but the other sub-genres, is there any other sub-genres besides rock that you truly, truly love? Metal, I'm assuming, is one?
You didn't mention prog, and prog has always been, whether it's Genesis or Floyd or King Crimson. The first two King Crimson albums, I freak out over them. I listen to them back to back, not daily, but very often. They're probably the most played records that I have. And whether it comes to Yes or things like that, because Sean was very big on playing all these prog albums, so I was really into that. Floyd, big fan of Floyd. The early Syd Barrett stuff freaks me out. So much good music, so little time. All the, then where it comes from, Thin Lizzy to I wouldn't even know where to begin. My CD collection is alphabetical, so I'm just thinking alphabetically. Aerosmith, AC/DC, the Beatles, punk, Black Flag, Bauhaus, C, Clapton. I could go on and on. There's so much good music. D, Dokken, E, my old band Eudoxis, F, Fastway, which is the guitar player from Motorhead. G, Jay Giles Band. H, I don't know. I'm going to say Hawkwind, which is the band before Motorhead. H.I., Iron Maiden. I could go on and on. I could, but, you have a show that's, not 6 hours long. But like I said, so much good music, so little time.
For H, you could have put Huey Lewis in the news.
Absolutely. I got some of that, too.
So do I. I have that in my collection. A little bit. George Harrison, that's where I put, when I classify my vinyl, it's all in alphabetical order.
George Harrison, absolutely, yeah. My favorite Beatle.
He's my second favorite. McCartney, it's always been McCartney-Harrison for me.
I actually dressed up as George Harrison in the Ranamers video that came out just before The one that we just put out, which is called I Can't Breathe, is the latest one. And the one right before that was Alien Contact.
Okay.
So, which is the title track. So that on that video, we played on a rooftop in downtown Montreal. We all dressed up as the Beatles, and we filmed it. That's pretty funny.
That's very nostalgic.
Yeah.
That's very nostalgic. I like that.
And that was down to all the details, you know?
I love it. I love it.
The fluffy coats and the red pants, we had it all.
And now let me ask you, can you describe your creative process when you're writing new music, whether it is the lyrics to a song or the actual score play, the music itself? What is your process that you go through?
Yeah, music is there. It's what I love most about music. It comes out of nowhere. You know, if you want to play football, you need a ball. You know, so you need something physical. You know, music comes out of nowhere and becomes something and still nothing because you can't touch it. You can only feel it and hear it. And sometimes I'll be driving in the car. I've done a lot of that. And a song will come in my head, and I'll start singing. Okay, that works. Got to remember it. Got to sing it into my phone. Got to run home and record it. Or that could become a song out of a vocal line. Or, you know, I'll be jamming on my slide guitar. And it's like, oh, this works. That kind of works. Ooh, that could be a song. Let me record that. I have so much recordings of all kinds of stuff everywhere. On my phone, on an actual little tape recorder from the 70s. You know, it could be, you know, playing with band members. You know, somebody will come up with a riff, and I'll come up with the rest. For Ranamers, I came in late in the project. So for Ranamers, the brain of the project, like we said, is Cesar Ramirez, the drummer. And when I joined the band, Oswaldo was there too, which is the guitar player, and Cesar was there as a drummer. The bass was recorded in Venezuela by Giovanni Ramirez. However, most of the bass, because there's another guest player also, and there's some other guest singers on there sing parts here and there, and which gives a very varied sound to the project. But after I joined, we were looking for a bass player to, for live shows, somebody reliable with a lot of enthusiasm. And we got Roberto Galavis, also known as Thunderbolt. So that rounds up our four-piece. Even though the sound of the band has a lot of horns and different things, I think we'll start off as a four-piece, practice the songs, get the show down, and then add colors to it as we go along. But the core of the band is Cesar Ramirez, drums and vocals, T-Bone Terry, that's me, vocals and harmonica, Oswaldo Contramaestre is the guitar player, and he also did the recording. He recorded everything in Montreal in his own studio. He has OCT Studios and recorded most of the album at his place. And for bass, we got Roberto, who very recently we went to Robfest, which is his festival, because he turned 60 and he made a festival for his 60th birthday. Okay. And he was playing in two bands on the same night. So this guy's a machine. This guy has played with so many bands, and he's playing with two bands at the same time, and he's joining our band. So he's like, you know, I've never seen somebody with so much energy and enthusiasm. That's Roberto Thunderbolt Galavis on bass. So that rounds off our band. And right now, like I said, we play the songs that were composed for Cesar Ramirez. Eventually, we'll all write together.
Well, that's fantastic. And for you, who are some of your favorite rock musicians?
Rock musicians. Like I mentioned Ozzy as a stage persona, as somebody who will just walk on stage and everybody stands up. I went to an Ozzy show maybe 10 years ago, one of his last ones, and, you know, he comes on stage, runs on stage, and the whole place, I think it was the Bell Center, everybody's standing up. Standing ovation for the longest time, for the whole show. It just, you know, just the persona, the charisma this guy has, you know, it just gets everybody moving. So that gets my vote as stage presence, and stage presence is very important because you want to get the audience on board. You can't just go up there and sing the song. You got to go up there and get the crowd into it. You know, they should be sweating as much as you are on stage. And then it comes to guys like Elvis, Roy Orbison, some classics. You listen to these guys and you go, man, these guys, you hear the one note that they sing and, they got it. Bon Scott, I could, again, I could go on and on and on, and I'll be kicking at myself for not mentioning some other ones. The Rob Halfords and so on.
So you're a big Judas Priest guy. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's good. I like the way you present yourself. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Ozzy's. For me, when people say Ozzy, right away I jump. I'm like, this is great. So now I know we're going to be friends because we share a passion for one of the greatest artists when it comes to stage presence, for sure, is Ozzy Osbourne, and leads me to myself here. When it comes to your band dynamics and collaboration, because obviously you being the front man and the lead singer, obviously we got also Caesar, who's a drummer who's basically pulling kind of like a Don Henley or a Levon Helm kind of role where he's singing and doing the drums at the same time, because that, you got to coordinate yourself. As for myself, who's a pupil of the drums, I cannot sing and play drums at the same time because I get distracted. So I'd either focus on one thing or the other. And my voice is terrible when it comes to singing, so we leave it at that. But now, for me, I want to ask you, how do you approach the songwriting and collaboration within the band?
Right now, what's going to happen with the band is we're going to, now the songs are all written. The album just came out. We're making videos for them. There was some talk about some festival in Ottawa. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I've heard something like that. So when our mutual friend Lily told me, hey, I know a guy in Ottawa, saying, oh, great, I'll get the word out in Ottawa. So if we do play there, for sure, we'll have some following there as well. But the plan is to play some shows, to practice the songs, play some shows, get comfortable with each other as musicians, and then write whatever will follow the Global Warning Alien Contact album. So now this album just came out, and we'll be writing together, because that's the I always believe that the power of four musicians together is just so much better than one musician writing the songs and saying, this is it. Because this was also a brand new approach from myself. A friend of mine recently goes to me, oh, I noticed you're in a new band. There's a new name for that always associated to your name. I go, yeah, well, I just tripped and I fell into a new band. I'm surrounded by so many musicians that it can easily happen. Kind of like that commercial where that guy trips and falls into a guitar store, and on his way up grabs a guitar, not to fall down, and money comes out of his wallet, and he walks out of the store with a guitar. Same thing happened to me. I was just walking down the street, tripped, and I fell into a band. It's Oswaldo who called me up to be the hired gun for the harmonica. Then Caesar said, oh, you sing, your pronunciation is in English, and your singer is good, so that'll make the album more accessible, so you sing the songs. Here's the songs. He gave me 2 songs. I came in one night, and I sang 2 songs. Then he gave me 3 more songs, and I learned them, and I came in and I sang them in the studio, and now I'm on most of the album. But on the next one, it'll be much more of a collaboration. By the way, this album has, like I told you, there's a bunch of guest musicians, and it's been recorded. The drums are actually recorded in Ottawa. Caesar went to Ottawa in Resonator Studios. I don't know if you're familiar with them. It's Dave Dudley who works there. And in Ottawa, the drums were recorded. The bass, was, like I told you, was recorded in Venezuela. Some guitars and keys were recorded in Spain. So this is like a really worldwide project of music coming from all over the place, from different musicians, and the best of the best. Because the mixing was done by Dave Poehler. This is in Miami, USA. And he's a Grammy nominee.
Oh, wow.
He's recorded and mixed Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Iron Maiden, Bon Jovi. The list goes on and on. So the mixing was done by Dave Poehler. That's why the album sounds so great. And mastering, when it comes to mastering, was done by Fuller Sound, also in Fort Lauderdale, USA. And this guy's a Grammy Award winner, too. And this is the mastering to bring up the sound to the max. It's going to kick your ass when you listen to it. And he's worked like with Rod Stewart, the Eagles. He's mixed albums by Eric Clapton, Judas Priest, Yngwie Malmsteen, Allman Brothers, and even Dolly Parton. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we're very, very happy with the sound of the album, and it really kicks ass. And it's really a collaboration of everybody that is on this album. And the next one's going to be even better because it's going to be a collaboration of writing songs too, not just playing along to tracks that are already there.
Well, this is great because it leads me up to my next question. And considering you are a seasoned music professional, where you were with the band Screen, Eudoxis, and now you're with Ranamers, my question is to you, what are your expectations for the band's future? Because now you've already produced one album, and you've had this worldwide collaboration from different parts of the world, which is fantastic, because it could fall into a world music category. And now you're already going to be writing new stuff. So basically, you guys are following the 25% rule for the four of you, right? So four of you, 25%, everyone's got the credit, everyone's happy. So what is the expectation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to also center on people's strengths. And I know my bass player, Roberto, I'm still getting to know him. I've seen him at the video shoots, and until I saw him at Robfest, I told him every time I saw you, you weren't plugged in, so I had never actually heard him play. And, we were doing the music videos, which is, music video, you're playing along to the music. So what was funny is I'd seen Robert on a couple of occasions, and it was always just mimicking to the sounds of the music so he could make a music video. But then I saw him at Robfest, and man, his sound kicks ass. He's got I don't even remember what amp he has, but I remember he played with two bands. One was like a classic rock type band, and one was like a metal band. And in each context, his bass came right through, kicked you right in the face, not annoyingly, just enough to say, yes, I feel the bass. So he's definitely the bass player for this band, and everybody's strength is welcome for the next album. I mean, Caesar, the drummer, who also sings, who wrote all the songs, he's definitely a songwriting machine. So we got to use that strength. Myself too. I'm a seasoned, like you said, very seasoned, salt, pepper, and all kinds of spices. Singer and songwriter, so we're going to use that as well. Our guitar player Oswaldo, right now he's got a metal background. He was in Guerra Santa in Venezuela when he opened up for me at the festival, and now he's playing with Red Raven Chaos here in Montreal. And he could get any sound out of his guitar. He could play anything, and I'm so not worried with him when it comes. It's like just give him the stage, and he'll fill the sound with awesome guitar solos. And everybody, I think, in this band is. I'm very happy with everybody in this band, and I think pulling on everybody's strengths, our next album and next collaboration is going to be even better.
Well, from the sounds of it and the sounds of your voice, T-Bone, you are really enthusiastic about this. It seems like you have found your happy place, given the fact that, again, you are seasoned, you got the salt and pepper, you've done the miles, you put in the hard work, and now, from what it sounds like, is that this band's future is bright because you already got new stuff in the pipeline coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a new, like I told you, it was a new experience for me because every time I've been in the band, so like, let's sit down, in the old days, with my band Eudoxis, for example, we would sit in the garage and nobody, there was no internet. There was no internet at the time. Yes, kids, no such thing as internet. So we had disappeared for a couple of years in the garage. Nobody knew what was going on. And then all of a sudden, bang, we have an album, we have video, we have, tours going on. And it's like, that's the old way of functioning. And it was like, to sell your records, it was, you would mail them to stores in Germany or all over the world. And hopefully there's honest people on the other side that would, pay you for your share of the records. And now it's so different that with internet, you end up doing free promotion. Here I am talking to you through our mutual friend, Lily, who, actually that would be more organic because, we have a friend in common, which referred me to you. But in most cases now with the internet, it's like you just throw darts and whatever hits, darts in the dark. When you hear, ouch, you've made a contact. And yeah, that's where we are right now with the new world of internet. And I must sound like an old geezer, the new world of internet. But it's true. It's so different now than it was before. It's so much free publicity because things like Facebook, Instagram, and so on. So many people are aware of what you're preparing, and now that we put out a video, you talk about it. Word spreads so much easily. Of course, there's so many more bands that are doing the same thing. So there's a lot of clutter out there. So like I told you, if you have a band name like Eudoxis, which you type Eudoxis in Google, and it pops up the first thing because there's not that much Eudoxis content out there other than our band. It's actually a Greek name, but there's not that many Greeks named Eudoxis. So our band pops up immediately on Google. And if you type in Ranamers, boom, it pops up on Google. So that's a little tip for bands starting out these days, If you name your band Iron Fist, for example, which is a Motorhead song, I'm just making it up, there'll be a lot of interference by that Motorhead song, and your band might get lost. Or Iron Man might pop up, or ironing board, or anything to do with fists.
Oh, Iron Butterfly, right? They might pop too.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's important to get a name that pops up on Google right away. If it's something, unusual, use it.
So the question I'm going to ask you here now, when you talked about making music videos, now back in the day, at one point in time, the cost associated to making those, if my memory serves correctly, they were saying back in the 80s and 90s, T-Bone, that music videos were about $25,000 to produce. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were smart enough back in Eudoxis days to go with students at Concordia. And I actually remember the guy's name, David Jedikin. He made a video for Reach the Sun for the Eudoxis video. And that was much cheaper, and a great job he did. So, and later on what we ended up doing in the band Screen, is I learned how to do it myself. So we filmed our own videos. If you look up Screen, it's a little harder to find on the internet, but if you put Eudoxis Screen, it'll pop up. And I learned how to do it, how to program, and I learned how to splice video and put it together and make some kick-ass videos myself. And I did the same thing for Eudoxis last year when we put out our album Evil God's Fetish, which was actually an album that we put out something like 30 years after the Open Fire album in 1991. So we actually managed to get together and make music and make a full album, a release, and CD physical copy, and Spotify and YouTube and all that. And we also made a music video ourselves. We filmed it ourselves, directed it ourselves, and cut it up and put it together ourselves and released it. So sometimes it's to avoid all the costs of music biz, you got to do things yourself. And if you're lucky, you have some connections that'll give you a helping hand.
Well, this is good. And my question is that the vision that you have for your band's live performances, how do you find that fitting in today's rock scene? Because it's starting to come back. And I'm one of those guys that I'm trying to listen to new music today. And if it, it just doesn't really seem to jive with me sometimes. And then I got someone like you that's old school, that's bringing back bringing back into the rock. And we've discussed about this off air, you and I, that how I want people like, Paul McCartney and the Rolling Stones to live forever, because you don't want to lose them. And if I could make Ozzy immortal, that'd be even better. So for you coming in now to Ranamers, how do you see yourself with live performances and sliding right into that rock scene? How do you feel you guys are going to fit in?
What I think about Ranamers is that it's got a sound that's unlike others. I'm a big fan of stuff that's hard rock. I'm a big fan of stuff even that's like I went to see Santana a few years ago, and the opening act was Lost Lonely Boys. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
But they're Texicanos that play some blues, but half Spanish, half English. And I just find bands like that, they stick out so much because there's not much Spanish language / English language bands out there. So I think that puts us apart from a lot of bands. So we have some parts that our drummer will sing. They're in Spanish. He does sing a lot of the English stuff too. But for example, the song "I Can't Breathe" that we put out on video, it's a very clear example of that, where he sings the Spanish part, I sing the English part, and you listen to the song, it starts off in English, and then you have this middle part that's in Spanish. You go, whoa, where's this coming from? What kind of band is this? So it generates interest. So having that little edge on others would be the Latin-English connection there that's unusual or less common in the rock world, which is what we need. And the sound, too, because there's some sounds on there that are very influenced, not necessarily in the instrumentation, but the beats. So, the feel of the songs, like the title track, that's the... let's see, it's Global Warning Calientico. That one's very, very down south kind of song, so it's like a summer party song.
Well, that's awesome. And now we're going to get into some questions that are more about T-Bone himself, So the question, they're very light. This stuff you definitely are going to enjoy answering. What are your hobbies and interests outside of music, T-Bone?
So I'll go chronologically. I loved riding my tricycle. That's for sure.
Okay.
I have a photo of that, which I cherish. And when me and my brother were growing up, we were very creative. I mean, we ended up being musicians, but we started off drawing. And we'd draw comic books and make our own comic books and make our own writing things. And I remember seeing my brother color and draw things and put little bubbles over them with people writing stuff, sort of like, what are they saying? Like, Batman, let's go to the Batcave, for example. He would put bubbles with words on top, like comics. Okay. But I was too young and I couldn't read or write yet. That's how early we started, where I would write little bubbles over my drawings with nonsense letters, and I would tell my brother, what does it say? And he would say, it says nothing. Learn how to read and write first. So this is like early influence of my older brother guiding me through life. And then we found out that, drawing is fun, but I think we got into music. My parents had an 8-track machine with microphones coming out of them. So we would record an 8-track, singing, kiddie songs or old Greek songs or whatever. So we had that musical influence in us. And so when I got the accordion and I threw it over to my brother and he started playing accordion, I got into Eudoxis. And, well, not immediately because I was like 7. I got into Eudoxis. I was still in my teens, late teens when I got into Eudoxis and started writing music. Well, I was writing music in high school. I was writing music through my college years. My notebooks and my school essays were full of hidden song lyrics, and the creativeness was there to write. And then when I joined Eudoxis, it just exploded, and the creativity really came out, and that was the beginning of that. I started with Eudoxis singing. My brother started playing guitar, and he was playing like Richie Blackmore stuff and Eric Clapton stuff. And then eventually went more into the blues. I went more into the metal. And on occasion, me and my brother, we intersect. We do acoustic shows, acoustic blues shows, and I play harmonica and sing. He plays guitar. And totally different dynamic. But it's the love of music. It's a labor of love, and I don't see how anything would be better in this world than the pastime of music. It's been so great to me.
Well, this is fantastic. It means your interest outside of music is still music, and that's great, because without music, you got nothing.
Absolutely.
I love that. Here's something I always like to ask my guests. What is your favorite rock or metal or rock and metal album of all time? So my question is to you. Yeah, what is your favorite rock album and what's your favorite metal album? Okay. You gotta pick one of each, T-Bone. One of each.
Yeah. So much music, so little time. But I remember my dad was a taxi driver, and this was 1980. And he came home one day. He goes to me, a customer left this in the back seat, and nobody's claimed it, and nobody's called for it, and I guess you guys can have it. It was a cassette. Guess which cassette it was in 1980? It was AC/DC Back in Black.
The best one.
So that's the first cassette I ever had in my hands. And we played, and we go, oh my God, Bon Scott just died, and they did this. So it's like, this is like the introduction. 1980, I was 10 years old. My brother was 12. So imagine having AC/DC Back in Black in our hands going, oh, my God, these guys are gods.
They are.
And so that would be the rock album.
Okay.
Metal.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. Which metal album is my favorite metal album of them all? Oy, oy, oy. I was early on, before going into Eudoxis, when I got into Eudoxis, I got into the Slayer and the and Megadeth and the Metallica. But before that, I was into Motorhead, and let's see what's harder than Motorhead. Venom. What was out there then? It was Raven. And so I'm saying to myself, yeah, Accept. So I was into Accept, Raven, Venom, those Motorhead. That was my early metal love. And I'm going to say maybe Raven, All For One. That's a really good early metal album. The Raven, if you're not aware, is a band that came from England, and I've ended up jamming with them. When they played in Montreal, they pulled me on stage, and we did some Sabbath on stage, because, through the wonder of internet, you know everybody, and they admire what you do, and you admire what they do. And so they pulled me on stage with some Sabbath, and then during COVID, the bass player and singer of Raven, we did a little collab to raise money for the Montreal Children's Hospital. We did a track, it's on my Facebook page, we did a live collaboration of Paranoid by Sabbath. So, imagine meeting your idol and then recording with your idol and playing on stage with your idol. So Raven is definitely up there as my favorite band of all time. And, they have a later album, Life's a Bitch, which might be even more my favorite. There you go. My favorite metal album, Life's a Bitch by Raven.
Okay.
There you go.
And what do you want people to take away from your band's music when they come to your concert and they see you perform? What do you want them to leave and say, you know what? That T-Bone guy, man, I love his voice. Or, man, he's got stage presence. He's like the next David Lee Roth. What do you... I'm just using David Lee Roth because I love David Lee Roth, so...
Yeah, my drummer tells me, hey, when you sing low, you got that little David Lee Roth vibe. But for me, it's like when people come to my show, what I want to walk away with is a smile. That's it, a smile. One smile. Who was that band? I think their name was Ranamers. I don't remember the singer's name. Doesn't matter. If you walked out with a smile, I'm happy.
All right. And what would be your favorite thing about being in a band in general?
I think it's the creativity. The opportunity to be creative. Like this thing came up with the Ranamers, and it's like, oh, you need somebody to play harmonica on it? It's like, oh, sure. And then it's like, oh, you need somebody to sing on it? Sure. And just the opportunity to be creative, to try different approaches, to learn stuff. I mean, up to now, I'm 55 years old, and I'm still learning. I'm still excited about music. It's the best pastime in the world, and any opportunity to be creative is a catharsis, and it's a learning process for anything that's coming up.
And about the city that you're from, what's your favorite thing about being from Montreal?
Montreal, I had visitors from Germany. It's the band Accept. And they visited me here in Montreal while they were playing. And they didn't know that Montreal was an island. They go to Montreal's an island. What? Montreal's an island? or in the German accent. What? Montreal is an island?
Well, it is called l'Île de Montréal.
Île de Montréal, yeah. Yeah, it's an island. We've got a mountain in the middle. And that's really what's beautiful about it, It's surrounded by water. So if you're going in the wrong direction, you're just going to hit the water. You're going to realize, oh, I'm going the wrong direction. Got to turn around. So you can't get lost in Montreal. It's surrounded by water. In the middle of the island is a mountain. So if you see a mountain, you're in the middle of the island towards downtown. If you don't see a mountain, then you're far off. And it takes about an hour or so to drive across Montreal. That's how big it is. It's a big island.
It is a beautiful city. I'm a product of that city. Obviously, I'm from St. Leonard, so obviously, there's where the Italian extraction comes in. But before we leave off this interview, T-Bone, I want you to tell us, how could fans and listeners get a hold of you? Where could they listen to your stuff? How could they, if they want to email you guys and say, hey, when are you guys performing near my town, and you get back to them? How could we get a hold of you?
If I understood the question correctly, because I think you're cutting out, how can people find Ranamers stuff?
How can people find Ranamers stuff? How could people get a hold of Ranamers?
Okay, so we got our Facebook page, which is our main gathering point. If you go on Facebook, right, Ranamers, it'll pop up the first name because it's a name that's very unusual, not used very much in the world. So type in Ranamers, bing, you're there. If you type Ranamers in YouTube, bing, you're there. You get to see our 3 videos we released, especially the newer one, which is I Can't Breathe. That's the one you should watch, and I think you should watch the rest too. And it's Spotify. You type in Ranamers, bing, you're there. So that's, like I said, the advantage of having a name that's unusual. If you go to Facebook, that's our main gathering point. And on Facebook, we have our link to the store where the CD and the vinyl is being sold. So the vinyl is green, alien green vinyl. So you pull it out, and it almost, I haven't checked if it glows in the dark, but it might. And maybe your hand will glow in the dark after you hold it. I'm not sure. But that's the vinyl. And we got the CD, which has 2 bonus tracks, because CDs fit comfortably more music than vinyl do. So we got 2 bonus tracks on the CD. So the advantage of getting the CD is you get the 2 bonus tracks. The advantage of getting the record is that you get the green alien vinyl, which is really freaky. So, or you can buy both. Hey, why not? Support your local music.
Well, this is great. So, T-Bone, before I sign off, I want you to introduce the song we're going to play at the right now. So you tell us what song is going to be playing, and we're going to play it for the listeners on the podcast.
Yeah, this one's a bit of a bluesy song called "Tell Me Jimmy," and it's a song dedicated to Jimi Hendrix. I guess our drummer, singer, songwriter had a lament of losing Jimmy way too early and not getting enough music out of him. So it's just a lament of his death and the wish to have him around for a little longer. It talks about voodoo child reference in there. It talks about Lil Wing reference in there, and it's a beautiful written song with a nice melody called "Tell Me Jimmy" by the Ranamers.
And there you have it, folks. "Tell Me Jimmy" by the Ranamers. I'm Ferris Kennedy with my guest, T-Bone Terry. And here is "Tell Me Jimmy" by who?
The Ranamers.
Just misfortune or somebody came to you. Oh,